low quality fans of a high quality playoff team, whomever that team may be. Hey, happy draft lottery. Yeah, I just watched that. Didn't watch it actually. Just waited for the update on Twitter because I don't know why I'd watch it. I'm glad that you watched it if you did, but not my jam, not my pizzazz. No, I instead continue to take notes on these series. I'm missing the first period of Leafs Panthers, although I know Willie Nylander is doing some things. How exciting. But let's talk about the Canes and the Capitals second round series. I think that would be a fun thing to do from the perspective of a diehard Rangers fan. Woot woot. No, let's talk about this. Let's go through the general way I do this once again. First of all, I put way more emphasis on the 3 months leading up to the playoffs. Most of the data that I'll use will be focused on that. I think it gives us a better snapshot of where teams are at this time of year. The advanced analytics I use are from naturalstattrick.com. Home ice means next to nothing to me outside of extreme cases like the Canes. We're going to talk about the Canes in this, and home ice because they don't have it. And then the predictions at the end are just for my own shits and giggles because I usually go against what the math tells me to, or at least I am doing that this year. And so far, I am 7 for 8 to start the playoffs. I feel pretty good about that. I predicted the Leafs to win their series, and they did. How about that? Let's talk about the Capitals first and how we got here. The most predictable winner of the first round won in the first round. Who would have guessed? But also, what's really fun about this is they were the most predictable winner of the first round, in my mind, after last year being the most predictable loser in the first round. How quickly things change. God, I hope they change so quick for the Bruins. Despite some of the joyous Habs fans insisting that they expected this to be a long, long series with the Capitals and that they could hang with that team, that didn't happen. They were out in 5. And I think most of those Habs fans knew the uphill battle that they were going against, but you know, you want to have pride in your team. You want to talk some snaz. I get it. There were moments that did make us think that Montreal could make it interesting, but no. GG, easy, that's it. Now, going into that series, I had this big negative speech about the Capitals and about the reasons I don't trust the Capitals that ended with, but hey, they've got the way ahead of schedule Habs in round 1, so they'll probably be fine. And they were fine. The bad news is now they are playing a legitimate cup contender in Carolina. The good news is Carolina isn't good on the road, and most of what I'm about to say in the negative lens about the Capitals' rough end to the season can also be said about the Canes. So don't feel bad yet, Caps fans. Let's get there. The last 10 weeks of the season saw both their special teams, the Capitals' special teams, being closer to the middle of the league than, towards the top 10. And although their goals scored per game and shooting percentage still sat top 5, their goals allowed per game and team save percentage cratered to 26th and 30th, respectively. The concern is with goaltending, where Thomas was sitting at an 86 in his final couple of months. Did I say Thomas? Thompson. That was weird. The Capitals have a ton of depth and freakish chemistry. Their offensive creation and finishing is elite. But if the guy between the pipes isn't at least good, then you aren't really winning too many playoff series. Now, the goaltending stuff, that doesn't really match the Canes, but some of this other stuff does. The good news here is Thompson looked really good in the first round against a Habs team that is certainly capable of putting the puck in the net, right? That Habs team had some offensive pop to it. Carolina does a lot of volume shooting, so if Thompson's .923 save percentage in round 1 can be viewed as him getting back to his game, then I think the mountain of rubber he's about to face will kind of keep him locked in. It's a weird take, considering pucks to the net is a hockey staple. It's always a good idea. But sometimes I feel like Carolina actually helps opponents and opposing goaltenders by chucking a bunch of nonsense soft shots at the net. And we talk about how goalies feel better when they're, contacting a lot of rubber and getting through that. I feel like you're just boosting that goaltender's confidence as he goes, and he's just from all these shots that are coming from 30 feet out. I don't know. It's a weird take because, again, pucks to the net, good. But too many pucks to the net, bad? That doesn't sound right. The Capitals don't have as many game breakers as the names on their backs suggest, really. Like, Ovi is still Ovi. He's not prime Ovi, but he's still friggin' Ovi. And Wilson or Carlson are certainly capable of shifting a series. But they got here on the power of friendship, and I wish more people were talking about it. I mean, that's literally how they got here. The power of friendship. That's it. It's all chemistry and being greater than the sum of your parts, or I don't know how that phrase works. I've tried to say it like 8 times this team and I can't say it. It's fine. Let's talk about the Canes. The second most predictable winner of the first round, won in the first round. Who would have guessed? I would have. They pretty much did it how you would expect to if you've watched this team long enough. They dominated 5-on-5 possession, had an egregiously low 5-on-5 shooting percentage, which was just over 6%, which somehow was even lower on high danger chances. It was under 5% for those. Actually lost the 5-on-5 scoring battle in the series, but unexpectedly, their power play scored 5 goals. More expectedly, their penalty kill allowed 0. In no way do I feel the Canes were bailed out by a suddenly hot power play. I feel they would have easily handled the half carcass of a Devils roster that they were playing anyway. But in their preview, we talked about how the last couple months before the playoffs, the Canes were mid-AF brother or sister. 15th in goals for per game, 13th in goals allowed per game, 27th ranked power play, 11th ranked penalty kill. That's just not impressive. And there really wasn't much from the first round that changed any of those concerns. Because even though the penalty kill was brilliant, and the power play was really good, and the 5-on-5 stuff was there, I mean, it was against a very, very, very injured Devils team, right? But then again, you're playing the games in front of you. You should get credit for that. And to be fair, we also talked about how all their underlying numbers on chance creation and shot suppression and transition offense, all of those things looked really good towards the end of the year. But that's always been the thing with the Canes. The analytics models love them, but they never really get the same results as those models suggest, especially deeper in the playoffs, which is really funny because the Capitals are the exact opposite. The models hate the Caps, always. And usually the Caps are pretty good. And the models just sit there and go, I don't know, man. I can't explain it. I don't know. At the end of the day, this Canes team has the ability to match depth with anyone. They win by rolling 4 lines of structured, effective hockey. But so do the Capitals. I mean, that's what this series is. It's depth versus depth. And although I think the Canes' star talent is just a little better, I don't think it's better enough where you sit here and go, they have a true advantage in their forward depth or on their back end, really. The important factors for this, in my opinion, come down to home ice will be the first one, because the Canes are 16, 21, and 4 on away ice this season. Not a record that you would expect from a cup contending team. It's also a constant trait of this team over the last few years. They have a good coach whose system greatly benefits when they can utilize their shutdown third line against opponents' best lines. When they don't have the last change, though, when they're not home and they have to wait till, or they have to put out their guys before the opponents decide who to put out, they struggle for far more than they really should. Because they do still have the talent and the depth to be better than a sub 500 record on the road. I'm really not sure what it is. Meanwhile, the Capitals not only have home ice, where they're fairly dominant, but are also tied for the best road record in the NHL at 25-13-3. I've said home ice doesn't matter to me in every one of these videos, but it matters to the Canes, apparently. I mean, this is something to watch. If they can't win a game on the road, they can't win this series. That's it. You're done. You lose. That's what it comes down to. The Bruins and the Canes did this a few years back, where it was all win at home, then you win at home, that neither team could win the away game. And the Canes won the series. Another thing to look at is who's in net Frederick Anderson has been brilliant this year and was brilliant in round 1 against the Devils until he got hit high and taken out of the series. He's back to practicing, but if he gets shaken up again, the Canes don't exactly lose an advantage because, I mean, Thompson has looked good in the playoffs as well. So, like, Thompson versus Anderson feels fairly equal. So maybe they get at a disadvantage here, though, because Kochetkov has had a roller coaster of a season. Anderson's health plays a big role on getting the job done for a Canes team that is capable of representing the East in the finals if everything goes right. I still don't see how anyone gets through the Panthers, but it's a whole different conversation. So I think the who's in net really falls on the Canes side of things here. I think they need Anderson. If Anderson isn't healthy, then this gets really troubling for the Canes pretty quickly because Kochetkov's lows have been really low. And then the last really important thing about this is the lack of sheltered minutes. And I think this is an advantage for teams like the Capitals, like the Canes. Vegas comes to mind. The Kings in the previous round, although obviously didn't work out for them. But when you are facing an opponent who has 4 forward lines that all know how to play the game they want to play, that all have an identity, and they have 6 defensemen that are all NHL caliber, belong in the game, can play real minutes. You can't hide anyone against that team. Like, you can't shelter their minutes and prevent them from getting exposed. And what we have here is the somewhat rare case of 2 teams that are built like that have 4 lines that play effective hockey and know their chemistry, know their role, know what they want to do, and then have a back end that, I mean, really anyone can play decent minutes except for, and here, this is what we're actually getting to. The Capitals are missing Faravari, but they have the depth to overcome it, right? Especially on the back end and everything. But the teams are mostly healthy going into this. And with them being 2 of the deepest in the league, they also are 2 of the best at sheltering specific players who are utilized as specialists in an area of the game. So we know who we're talking about here. We're talking about Gostisbehere, and we're talking about Chychrun. And Chychrun is the one who has been forced higher in the lineup for more impactful minutes against higher level competition because Faravari is out. I just spit everywhere. Ignore that. It's fine. I am really interested to see how much this might affect this series because if you're looking for a weak spot, you would look, the Capitals will say, hey, we need to find a way to get one of our lines consistently attacking Gostisbehere at 5-on-5, right? Because Gostisbehere, brilliant power play, an offensive defenseman, but he's just not a very effective 5-on-5 defender. And if I'm the Canes, I'm looking at Chychrun's season and what he's done and saying the same thing. I want to attack him on the ice and make him play in his own zone as much as possible. The Canes will still have the easier job trying to hide and shelter Gostisbehere because he's not forced higher in the lineup right now. But Chychrun becomes a real pivotal part of this series, especially because we saw in Montreal, he did a great job creating offense, but he also gave a lot of it back the other way. So that's one of those things that actually appears to be the glowing object in a boss fight that you're supposed to shoot at. That's the weak point. My prediction going into this is I had the Canes upsetting the Capitals in the second round on my bracket. I'm not going to change that. This is a completely biased pick because I have been a non-believer in Washington all year. Everyone having a career year at the same time is ridiculous. Like, stop it. It's ridiculous. So I'm going Canes in 7 in this one. Yeah, Canes in 7. That feels fine, right? Let's go Canes. I miss saying let's go Bruins. And of course, here at the end of the video, I love to give some shout outs to the fantastic high quality inspectors who help support the channel and keep this running. I super appreciate every single one of you, from the role player tier, the top line tier, and of course the all-star tier. We are going to do our shout outs for this top line tier. Thank you so much to Sean Kreider, Michael Kammerer, Chris and Erica, Kevin Timperley, Quack and Platypus, JM, Smoke Channels, Shaggy, Adam Ella, Albert Waldron, Negev79, Lola Cattingsworth, EKM Productions, Moonlighter TV, Big Bad Bruin, The Bugman, Jeff with a G, Tommy Braga, Roland22, GD Viperworks, Len Kreutz, Brock Nope, Han Slobo, Coach D, The Atomic Lizard, Bradley Johnson, Brett Arney, Pincent, and Nick Zatrullo. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. Your top line material. But now we got to move on to our all-star tier members, the absolute legends. We have Jacob Pratt, Jake Brower, Dampen, JG's 12, Mark S., Ann Hustis, Tim R., Lorenzo Wood, Penny Pasta, Levi Catalani, Boston Stringler, Bagel, Nightmare Eco, John Kirk, Joel, Stealthy Potato, Heil E. Coyote, Darren Woodbury, Abraxion, Wolf Warrior, Vinny, Adrian Winter, Tupton D. Tashi, Bruin Smash, D.A. Kingery, The Only Newts, A Tasty Snack, Dutes42, and Jeremy. Thank you all for all of the support and love that you are all giving. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, go Bees!